Hello and welcome to the KarniCourier.com Class 3 State Wrestling Championships preview. I'm Andy Meyer, here with Kearney Courier reporter Bill Knust. Bill, what's the thought going into the state championships from Kearney's perspective?
They are in a situation where, much like last year, they cannot afford many errors this weekend. They have to be almost perfect, and it puts them in a tight spot, but they've wrestled the competition and the schedule this year to be prepared for something like this. I mean, I don't think they're going to be freaked out by the fact they have to wrestle perfect. And the bottom line is, if their hammers wrestle like they can, they've got a legit shot to win this thing and have it maybe wrapped up going into the state finals on Saturday night.
Is this a situation that they've been in before, essentially last year, where they had to get a lot of those clutch victories, at key moments, and
of course,
that a lot of those guys are.
I think Staley brought 12 last year, were the heavy favorite going into Kearney's 9, and I would argue Staley's 12 last year are a lot better than Neosho's 13 they brought this year. Now Kearney's got one less guy this year, only 8. But I think they're in a position to rack up maybe more bonus points this year than they were last year. So they had a lot of close, like Blaine Drescher had a lot of close victories on his run to the state final, where I think he can maybe pin some kids or have some major decision victories this year that he didn't have last year. And I think they've got a shot to get a lot of pins, a lot of tech falls this weekend, which they're going to have to. If you're going to beat a team with 13 guys or 12 guys, you've got to figure out a way to score points, and bonus points is the way to do it. So they're in a position to do that. I like their chances. I think they've wrestled the schedule to be prepared for this point.
Sounds good. Let's just go to the brackets and take a look at what sort of might transpire in the down there this weekend. Starting out at 106, it looks like Kyler Ray is the favorite for Neosho, which would be a lot of points.
Right. In Neosho, they're ranked. They've been ranked number 2. They're ranked number 1 now going into the state for a reason. I mean, they've got Ray's a hammer. Now the thing is, he's going to have he's not going to have a cakewalk to the finals. He's most likely going to draw Hannibal's Chandler Foey, who was the state runner-up to Noah Tini last year in the semifinals. If he gets by that, he's got a tough kid from Platte County, Matthew Schmidt, who was the District 4 champion. He was a Fargo All-American this past summer at 88 pounds in the cadet. So, I mean, it's not assured that he's going to, just walk away with the championship here. There's a tough semifinal coming up where, those rounds are key points. So
at 113, then you've got one of the many brackets with Kearney and Neosho kids both in it.
Yeah.
And it looks like Jarrett Singh looks like the predominant favorite after winning 2 state titles already.
Yeah, and here's the deal. There's no one to stop Jarrett this year. I mean, last year there was Zach Nelson from Fort Zumwalt, and everyone knew that was going to be the finals. This year, it's Jarrett's here and everyone else is down here. I mean, he's tech-falled the number 2 and 3 kids in the state. I just don't see any way that he doesn't either tech fall or pin every kid that he wrestles this weekend. He has taken his game to another level this year, and that's saying something. He's beaten Keyshawn Hayes once this year. He's beaten Sean Russell from Collins Hill. Both are ranked, 5 and 6 in the country, 4 and 5 in the country right now. Jarrett's ranked 7, so he's clearly on another level. And Neosho, snuck their 13-pounder through out of districts. Okay, well. If he wins his first round match, he's got number 4 ranked Matthew King out of Poplar Bluff in the quarterfinals, and that I don't think he's prepared, to wrestle a kid like that yet. I just think it's a bad draw for Neosho, and maybe a chance where Kearney has to make up some ground like they're going to need to.
And as if he already needed any help to begin with, it looks like Singh got a good draw.
Yeah, I like you said, I don't think he needed any help.
Sure.
Sure, it's nice maybe, but the way he's wrestled the number 2 and 3 ranked kids, both were in his district. Sam Seidel is number 3 out of Oak Park. He's tech-falled him twice this year already, including the district semifinals. And then Dylan Linsenbart out of Helias, he tech-falled in the finals. So, I mean, I don't think it would have mattered what his draw was.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the difference between a tech fall and a pin or a major and a pin. But, I mean, past that, he's just on another level right now.
Yep. 120 is a really big, ended up being a massively important bracket just based on what is not there for Kearney.
Yeah. I mean, a huge blow not having Brayfield. But this team, I think it's brought them close together. They've kind of rallied around this. They've put it behind them. They won a district title last week in District 4. Not an easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, the good thing for Kearney is the top 4 kids in District 4 are all studs.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at some of the top kids in the state. So while they may not be able to score any points, their district mates can do a lot towards helping them, maybe take out Neosho along the way. You look at River Buttram is Neosho's kid in this bracket. He's going to draw Ethan Karsten out of Platte County, most likely in the quarterfinals. And Karsten beat Noah Teeney last week, a 2-time state champ. He upsets him in district semifinals out of nowhere. And you're looking at a kid 41-11 as a freshman, but 6 of his 11 losses are either to Jarrett Singh, Sean Russell of Collinsville, Georgia, who's ranked nationally, and then Davion Jeffries out of Oklahoma, who's ranked nationally.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, he's got 2 losses to Malachi Collins, who won the district title last week.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is to Andrew Wallace out of Waynesville, who was a 3rd-place finisher at 113 pounds last year. So Buttram has his work cut out for him to score points for Neosho. If he makes it to the semifinal, he's got Noah Teeney, 2-time state champ. And that's not a good semifinal match, again, for Neosho. The way they're going to win is either score massive points on the backside or have good semifinal rounds. And I'm looking at the brackets, unless some kids wrestle over their heads, if they're in a position to be in semifinals, they're going to have a tough time getting those big points, which with what Kearney can possibly do, I think they're going to need some of those big points along the way.
Absolutely. Moving along to 126, first-time qualifier, and Joe DeShaka. He looks like he's got a pretty good path to the semifinals.
Yeah.
And, again, a tough bracket, but, a good chance for another medalist for them.
126 was one of the diamonds in the rough for Kearney as far as the way this draw worked out. I mean, they could honestly not have asked for a better draw. Joe makes the district final and lands on the other side of Brad Perkins.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. Kid hasn't lost, a match yet in his high school career.
Mm-hmm.
The prohibitive favorite in this bracket, from out of Oak Park. So you're on the other side. That's great. Second thing, you look at Neosho's matchup in this weight class. They draw Jonathan Melton out of Staley, who's been ranked 1 or 2 all year. So not an easy first round matchup. Melton is solid wrestler, ranked number 1 for a reason. And then you look at, hey, if Magara pulls off the upset, he's got the number 2 ranked kid, Tyler Janes, in the quarterfinals. Joe's sitting up there on the top quarter of that bracket, and he's looking at a very winnable match in the first round against his number 3 seed, the River Maggard kid out of Carthage. Then he has Dalton Adams, would be most likely his quarterfinal opponent. Dalton 48-2, but I don't think the competition that Adams has wrestled this year matches what Joe's been able to wrestle on Kearney's schedule. So it would not shock me at all if Joe makes his way to the finals. He's peaking at the right time. He'll have a tough semifinal match, but hey, it's the state championships. You're going to have tough semifinals. He's beaten Melton. I think he has the pedigree, the practice partners to be ready for the situation to put him in the final.
132 is another one of those where you've got, a Kearney and Neosho kid as well.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly when you've got Blake Clevenger that comes in with his experience, former state finalist, that's one that Kearney would also expect to pick up a lot of those points, especially bonus points.
Yeah,
too.
And you look, Nate Rodriguez, the kid's a stud. He's nationally ranked. I mean, he's going to be in the finals. He's a 3-time state finalist. He lost to Perkins his first year, his freshman year at 103, but he's won state the last 2 years, beat Clevenger last year. Clevenger told me he wasn't ready for the situation last year. I talked with him this week. He said, I was just happy to be there. He said, this time, he goes, I'm not going to be psyched out. I'm not going to be scared of the fact that maybe Nate Rodriguez is standing on the other side of the mat. He's like, last year, I was intimidated going into the match. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I know Kearney has worked a lot on his offense, and you're starting to finally see it come out. And, he's going to have a tough draw in the semifinals with Seth Logan out of Carthage, who's ranked number 3. But the way Blake's wrestling, I think he can get to the finals. And then, who knows? The mental game is half the battle. If he's there mentally, I don't count him out. I don't count him out against Nate Rodriguez at all.
Moving along to 138, you've got Kevin Kinney and then Trevor Fagans on the other side of the bracket. Kenny's already got one championship. It certainly sets up very well for him to get back to that point again.
And Kevin told me his goal is to pin out in this tournament. And I don't put it by him. The kid's a pinner. I mean, he's a great wrestler. I really don't think, the Fagans is 46-1, but Kenny's beaten him the last 2 years in the state, and rode him out last year in the third period and then got his takedown in the first and rode him out again. I honestly think Kevin is the prohibitive favorite in this bracket, and I will not be surprised if he meets Fagans in the final and it's a better score than 2-0 this time. I won't be shocked if he beats him by major. I just think Kevin is wrestling that well. And it's not a knock to Fagans at all. The kid's a great wrestler, but I just think what Kevin's been able to do this year is just tremendous. He's taken his game to another level like a lot of these kids have on this team, and I think the schedule has prepared them to take their game to another level. So Kevin's my pick to win a state title, and I won't be shocked if he pins everyone till the finals and then maybe even gets a major decision in the finals and picks up more bonus points.
I mean, you talk about how crucial those bonus points are, especially. Is that the mentality, and almost you get the sense that they will be disappointed if they don't.
Yes. I think that's ingrained from them from the start. I mean, you look at last week in the district final, we'll get to Grant Leith here in a second. He was very upset to only get a major decision in the final. These kids are ingrained to pin, tech fall, get bonus points, and I think you need that mentality, especially with only 8 qualifiers. They're going to need that mentality coming in this weekend. Last week at districts, 24 pins or tech falls, 7 more than the closest opponent. That's what it's going to take to win a state title this year.
You already mentioned Grant Leith at 145. It looks like him and a big drop off to the next competition.
Right.
Is this another pretty slam dunk finalist state champion?
I would be shocked if Grant does not walk away with his second state title after this weekend. And he's a great wrestler. He's a Super 32 champion. You look at Class 4, the top 2 ranked kids, Derek LaPaglia and Reem out of Holt, both have 1 loss this year, both to Grant Leith. I think that says more than anything. The kid is just a stud, and he's going to be one of the greats in Kearney history.
152, you've got a kid, Jackson Bingham from Kearney. It's going to be a tough road for him, no matter what way you slice it. But is he somebody that can pick up some really big team points?
Right.
And they're going to need some of those kids. He's one of them that could do that.
Yeah, and Jackson may not win a state title. I mean, he's got number 3 ranked Spencer Barrett in the first round. But Jackson's job will be to get wins on the backside, go as long as he can, pick up crucial points because Kearney can't afford to have a wrestler go 0-2. They need to pick up points along the way. And a kid like Jackson in his first trip here can do that, and these will be, it's going to take a team effort, and you can't leave out Jackson in that statement. If he's able to get wins, going to be huge for Kearney, especially in a race that may come down to single digits or, within 20 points. Those wins are going to be huge.
You look at, he's got 22 losses, but that's a little deceptive, isn't it?
Oh, sure.
With the schedule they've wrestled, maybe the toughest in the entire state, regardless of competition. He's been prepared to get to this point.
Yeah, you look, they go to the Ironman this year, and you go to the Clash where you're guaranteed 6 duels, and then you go to the Kansas City Stampede, arguably the toughest individual tournament in the Midwest, where you're going to get a ton of matches there. You may accrue some losses in those tournaments because you're wrestling so many matches, but the experience you're gaining is invaluable, and you just have to draw on that. You got to hope these kids can draw on that when they get in these tough situations.
160, potentially a huge matchup in the Kearney Neosho between Drescher and Brandstetter. How massive will that quarterfinal be?
Huge, especially if Brandstetter, who was 5th at 152, bumped up to 160, gets by his first round opponent. These Kearney Neosho head-to-head matchups are going to be crucial, and Kearney has to come out on top whenever they get in a situation like this. I think, Blaine has got to be in a mentality where he's just going to go out and take it to kids this weekend. Especially you're looking at if he gets by Brandstetter, you're looking at a 1-2 matchup in the semifinal, maybe a de facto state championship in the semifinal. What Blaine was able to do in the semifinals last year against Ryan Wadlow and pull off that massive upset has to bode well. And really, Blaine has been very good this year. Consistent, strong. He's so lanky, and he's such a different style of wrestler than kids traditionally see. And I think if you don't wrestle Blaine a lot, it's kind of tough to feel out what he wants to do and try and beat him. And I think that is the one advantage he has going for him, especially if he makes it to the semifinals to wrestle McIntosh. I mean, not having seen someone like Blaine, it's really tough to prepare for what he brings to the game.
Moving on to 182, Taylor Ware, in a first-time qualifier, has got a tough potential quarterfinal in number one, J.J. Filipek. But is that is he somebody that can also, in terms of picking up some more wins, some big team points for Carney?
And Taylor is kind of the wild card here, much like Joe. Taylor has a lot of potential, and he at one point this year he had pinned 10 straight kids. So he's a pinner. He's strong, and I don't think you can take a kid like him lightly. Sure, he's ranked 6th, but he can beat anyone, I firmly believe. And, hey, if he gets the right breaks, maybe he pulls off the win in the quarterfinals. But if he falls to the backside, I think he's in a position to either finish 3rd or 5th. I would say, it would probably be a disappointment, I think, if he doesn't make the medal rounds. He's wrestled that well this year. And I'm guessing he's expecting to be a medalist this year, too.
That was my next question. I mean, he's a kid that they need to not only pick up a couple of wins, but really make it to that last day and get a lot of those bonus points, get himself in the medals, even as a first-time qualifier.
And I think the key is, if Kearney has kids drop to the backside, they have to be able to win that first match on the second day. Because outside of the semifinals, that match is worth the most points, and if you're going to be on the backside, you have to put yourself in a position to win that match, pick up those points you may have missed out on by not making the semifinals. I think one other key thing to look at here is Neosho's Jacob Brock, most likely going to meet Winnetonka's Anthony Flores in the semifinal. That could be another match where a district opponent for Kearney helps them out and really puts a dent in Neosho's chances.
Moving on to 195 then, you've got Bennett Lewis from Westminster as the number 1 seed. But past that, it's
wide open.
Pretty up for grabs.
Yeah, there's a lot. The top end talent is probably pretty good. I wanted to look at 195 because, I think Neosho is in these top weights that Kearney's 195, 220, 285. The 195-pound draw is not good for them. If he wins his first round match, which probably most likely he will, he draws Rudy May out of Rockwood Summit, who's 27-1 this year, ranked 3rd in the state. Not a good draw. You're looking at a senior versus a sophomore, a kid with 1 loss versus a kid with 20. So, you got to like your chances if you're Kearney here for some of these matchups to work out for you. And honestly, they're going to need some help. When you only bring 8 guys, you're going to need some help from other places. And I think they're in a position to get it, especially in this bracket.
The same can be said for 220, where you've got Christian Lopez going up against, would be in the semifinals, against Jared Shepard of Hillsboro. That's another one where they could get some help from another team.
Yeah, and Lopez is legit. If anyone's going to beat Jared Shepard, it's going to be either Lopez or Jordan Moffitt. Jordan Moffitt came into districts last week undefeated. Lopez knocks him off in a close finals match. So Lopez is no punk. Honestly, you're looking at one of the top wrestlers on this team. Like we said, though, Kearney gets help with the draw in the semifinal. Huge points in that round, and they get an undefeated Jared Shepard, hopefully meeting up with Christian Lopez on that side.
And this, again, sort of the same story plays out at heavyweight, where you've got Aaron Clardy going against Josiah Quick. Really tough kid from Grandview.
Yeah, not who you want to draw in the first round.
Definitely not. A 4-6 matchup, that'll be one to watch right from the get-go. If Clardy can win his first couple, then he runs into Bailey Sutko of Staley in the semifinals. So that's another deal where Neosho could really help out their own chances with a couple of wins there.
And Kearney's maybe counting on Staley, and Sutko to get the win in this match, and help them tremendously, because if Sutko and Clardy meet in the semifinals and Sutko's able to pick off a win there, Clardy's looking at wrestling a ranked kid in the next 2 matches, which if he loses his last 3 matches, that's huge points Neosho's going to miss out on. So Kearney's, they're going to need some breaks to go their way this weekend. That's what happens when you got a quality team like Neosho bring 13 kids and you're only able to qualify 8. But with the strength of District 4 and some of the draws, I think that's entirely possible.
Do you see the team race coming down to pretty much exclusively Kearney versus Neosho?
I do. I know you can look and say, well, Staley's got 12 guys, Platte County's got 11, but I just think they're the cream of the crop, and I think with the way the numbers work out, what would have been a Joyride tournament for Kearney really now comes down to a nail biter. And you could see a lot what happened last year where they made their move that semifinal night and finally put that distance between them and Staley happen again this year, and then wrestled well enough on on that final day to really not have it in much doubt going into the finals. And like I said, it won't shock me if that happens. So we'll just see. It's going to be an exciting weekend, though. I know things changed dramatically before districts, in what I was expecting to see down in Columbia this week.
Well, that'll do it for our state championship preview. You can follow the action all weekend long at kearneycourier.com. I'm Andy Meyer for Bill Knust, and we'll talk to you later.
Great, thanks.